You're working more, but owning less. For decades, hard work was supposed to pay off in ways that went beyond the paycheck. A steady job meant stability, a home, a growing nest egg, and a sense that life was moving forward. Today, that sense of progress feels like it is slipping through the fingers of millions. People are working longer hours, juggling multiple jobs, and still find themselves falling behind on expenses that were once manageable. It is no longer unusual for someone to spend years in a career, only to realize they are accumulating fewer assets, less security, and less freedom than the generation before them. Something fundamental has changed in the way the economy interacts with daily life, and it is creating a growing tension between effort and reward. This story is about that tension, how it manifests, and why it feels impossible to ignore. The illusion of progress. Many people assume that progress is linear: work more, earn more, achieve more. In reality, that progression has become less predictable. Productivity has increased at a pace that often outstrips wage growth, creating an illusion that working harder automatically leads to better outcomes. Economists call this productivity-wage gap a key factor in the stagnation of wealth accumulation for middle-class households. Even as society becomes richer on paper, the average worker often sees only a fraction of that increase reflected in disposable income or asset growth. The perception of progress is reinforced by technology, marketing, and cultural expectations. Everyone seems to be moving forward, buying the newest gadgets, traveling, or accessing services that appear out of reach to the past generation. But while these advances give a sense of upward mobility, they can mask the reality that true ownership, home, savings, investments, is not keeping pace. People may feel wealthier or more connected, yet their actual financial position relative to costs and future security remains tenuous. This illusion also affects decision-making. People continue spending, investing, and committing to long-term plans under the assumption that incomes will eventually catch up, or that future promotions or returns will solve present gaps. When those expectations fail to materialize, the result can be debt accumulation, delayed home ownership, and postponed long-term goals. Progress exists, but it is increasingly symbolic rather than tangible. At its core, now this illusion demonstrates how perception and reality can diverge in modern economies. People are productive, capable, and industrious, yet structural economic changes mean that hard work no longer produces the same clear markers of success. Understanding this difference between appearance and actual ownership is crucial to navigating today's financial landscape. Working longer hours than ever. Data shows that the average workweek has expanded across numerous industries. People are staying at their desks longer, taking on side gigs, or stretching hours into evenings and weekends just to maintain a standard of living that previous generations might have achieved in fewer hours. For many workers, this increase is not about ambition, it is about necessity. Rising costs of housing, healthcare, and education force people to spend more time working simply to keep pace with the economy. Longer hours have psychological and social consequences that extend beyond the paycheck. Family life, personal hobbies, and community engagement can shrink when work dominates schedules. Sleep, exercise, and mental health often take a backseat to financial demands. Even with these sacrifices, the tangible outcomes, asset accumulation, home ownership, or savings, may remain elusive. The return on investment for extra hours is no longer guaranteed, and the effort often feels disproportionate to the benefits received. Many industries that once offered predictable schedules now rely on constant availability. Technology allows employers and clients to demand responsiveness at all hours, blurring the line between work and personal life. The expectation of constant productivity creates stress that can be as costly as financial burdens, even when income itself is steady. Despite these challenges, people continue adapting. Flexible work arrangements, freelancing, and remote work opportunities provide options to manage hours differently. But navigating these arrangements requires discipline and planning. Longer hours have become a structural feature of modern work, forcing individuals to rethink the traditional balance between effort and reward. Debt becoming the new normal. For decades, debt was often framed as a temporary tool, a bridge to achieve goals like buying a home, funding education, or covering an unexpected emergency. It was something people could plan for and eventually pay off. Today, however, debt has become a structural element of middle-class life, woven into the financial fabric in ways that were unimaginable a generation ago. Credit cards, student loans, auto financing, and personal loans no longer serve as occasional supports, but as continuous layers of obligation that follow households through nearly every stage of life. Entire financial planning models are now built around servicing debt rather than accumulating assets. One of the most striking aspects of this phenomenon is the sheer scale of obligations carried by the average household. Student loans alone can stretch into tens of thousands of dollars for young adults, while mortgages, credit card balances, and medical bills pile on gradually over time. Debt repayments often absorb a significant share of monthly income, leaving little room for discretionary spending, savings, or investment. The middle class works long hours, yet the effort often goes directly into servicing debts rather than building long-term financial security. Debt has also become psychologically normalized in a way that changes behavior. People increasingly accept loans as part of life rather than as a temporary necessity. This normalization can obscure the structural issues behind the phenomenon: rising costs of living, stagnant wages, and insufficient asset accumulation. Many families continue to carry debt across decades, sometimes spanning multiple generations without ever achieving the sense of financial independence that past generations took for granted. At the same time, debt influences life choices. Decisions about career changes, homeownership, family planning, and retirement are often made with repayment obligations in mind. Risk tolerance decreases when a significant portion of income is already committed. What was once seen as a stepping stone toward opportunity has shifted into a persistent structural burden that shapes nearly every aspect of middle-class life. Even when households attempt to manage debt responsibly, the constant accumulation of interest and fees can make it difficult to reduce balances meaningfully. The systems designed to offer access to credit simultaneously create long-term financial friction, slowing the ability to build assets or take advantage of economic opportunities. Debt is no longer just a temporary inconvenience. It has quietly become a permanent companion for many middle-class families. Despite these pressures, households adapt in various ways. Some pursue side incomes, freelance work, or higher-paying roles to manage repayments, while others restructure debt strategically. The landscape has changed. The challenge is learning to navigate a world where debt is no longer an exception, but the rule for financial survival. Renting. Instead of owning, homeownership, long considered a pillar of the middle class, has increasingly become unattainable for many households. Rising property prices, stringent lending requirements, and high down payments push prospective buyers toward renting as the default option rather than a transitional step. Renting was once seen as a temporary stage before acquiring a home, but for millions today, it has become the permanent reality. This shift redefines wealth accumulation because the financial and psychological benefits of owning property, equity growth, asset security, and stability, are no longer accessible to a large portion of the population. Renting often carries hidden costs that go beyond the monthly payment. Tenants face increasing rental prices in competitive markets, security deposits, maintenance obligations, and limitations on customizing living spaces. While renting offers flexibility, it also introduces a level of financial uncertainty and impermanence that makes long-term planning difficult. Families may find themselves moving frequently due to rising rents or building requirements, disrupting community ties and complicating strategies for education, childcare, and employment. The contrast between owning and renting has widened in recent years. Property appreciation and equity accumulation favor those who manage to buy early or maintain substantial assets, and those in rental markets often see their money going towards someone else's property rather than building personal wealth. This dynamic amplifies economic inequality, reinforcing the gap between long-term asset holders and those navigating modern rental markets. Renting also affects financial behavior and household strategy. Savings plans, retirement planning, and investment strategies may need to be adjusted when property ownership is out of reach. Households often balance higher discretionary spending flexibility with the absence of equity-building opportunities, fundamentally changing the way financial security is pursued. Cultural expectations around home ownership have shifted alongside economic realities. In many regions, renting has become normalized even for middle-class families, altering aspirations that were once central to the idea of upward mobility. While renting provides immediate access to housing, it also creates long-term financial implications that fundamentally change the concept of economic progression. Ultimately, renting is not merely a lifestyle choice. It is an economic adaptation. Middle-class households navigate a complex landscape where flexibility, mobility, and access to urban centers must be weighed against the long-term advantages of owning a property that may now feel just out of reach. The subscription economy trap. In recent years, the rise of subscription-based services has subtly reshaped household budgets. Streaming platforms, software, apps, cloud services, subscription boxes, meal kits, and fitness memberships have become part of everyday life. On one hand, they offer convenience and access that were previously unimaginable. On the other, they create a constant series of small recurring expenses that accumulate faster than most people realize. The middle class now often faces dozens of monthly subscriptions that together add a significant financial burden, all while providing a sense of modern lifestyle alignment. The danger of the subscription model is in its subtlety. Monthly charges often appear small individually, $10, $20, or $30, but multiplied across multiple services and years, they can become a hidden drain on financial resources. Households may find that while they have access to everything from entertainment to productivity tools, their actual disposable income and savings potential are quietly constrained. These ongoing costs reduce the ability to invest in tangible assets, pay down debt, or prepare for major life events like purchasing a home or raising children. Subscription services also exploit convenience and perceived value. Many consumers feel that having access to streaming platforms, delivery services, or software suites is essential to maintaining a competitive or socially connected lifestyle. This perception encourages households to maintain subscriptions even when usage declines, creating a subtle but persistent cycle of expenditure that reinforces financial fragility over time. The subscription economy also reflects a broader shift in how consumption is monetized. Ownership is increasingly replaced by access. Instead of purchasing products outright, households now pay for temporary rights or ongoing access, a model that has the effect of reducing long-term accumulation of physical or financial assets. For middle-class families, this can contribute to a growing sense of working hard without materially advancing in financial security. While subscriptions offer undeniable convenience, they illustrate how modern consumption patterns can quietly reshape financial realities. Middle-class households must navigate not only essential expenses but also a landscape of optional recurring costs that, cumulatively, rival traditional necessities in their impact on monthly budgets. Adapting to this environment requires awareness and deliberate choices about what is truly valuable and necessary. Without conscious oversight, the subscription economy can create a subtle yet powerful barrier to wealth accumulation and financial independence. Inflation, quietly reducing wealth. Inflation has a way of moving slowly yet relentlessly, eroding purchasing power without triggering immediate alarm. What feels like a minor increase in grocery bills, gas, or utilities may seem manageable month to month, but over years, it quietly consumes a portion of earnings and savings that were once sufficient to support financial goals. For the middle class, this slow creep of rising costs reduces wealth in a way that is difficult to measure in real time, making it one of the most insidious challenges to long-term stability. Savings accounts, cash reserves, and low-yield investments are particularly vulnerable to inflation. Money set aside for emergencies, education, or retirement may lose value faster than it grows, creating a situation where financial security is undermined even for disciplined households. Inflation effectively reduces the real value of wages and assets, which is why many families feel as though, despite working hard, their financial position is stagnating. Inflation also interacts with other economic pressures, such as stagnant wages, rising housing costs, and escalating education expenses to amplify its impact. A household that once comfortably managed monthly expenses may now find itself adjusting budgets constantly, cutting discretionary spending, or delaying long-term investments. These cumulative effects reshape expectations of financial progress and create a constant sense of catching up rather than advancing. The psychological impact of inflation is often underappreciated. When wages do not keep pace with rising costs, families experience a mismatch between effort and perceived progress. The erosion of purchasing power can feel like an invisible tax, quietly altering life plans and delaying milestones that previous generations might have achieved more easily. Inflation may be slow, but its long-term effects are profound. It reshapes the middle class by reducing wealth, complicating financial planning, and altering the trajectory of what was once considered stable economic progress. The disappearance of job security. Job security was once a cornerstone of middle-class life. It was the foundation upon which families built homes, planned retirements, and envisioned generational stability. Today, that foundation has shifted dramatically. The rise of temporary contracts, gig work, globalized competition, and technological disruption has eroded the expectation that a long-term employer or career path can provide lifelong stability. Many workers experience constant uncertainty, not because jobs are disappearing, but because the rules around employment are now flexible, unpredictable, and often designed around the needs of businesses rather than employees. The psychological impact of disappearing job security is significant. When households cannot rely on the predictability of employment, every financial decision, from investing in property to saving for education, becomes more complicated. People plan cautiously, delay major life events, and often feel that even hard work may not yield proportional stability. The middle class has historically relied on predictable career trajectories. When those trajectories no longer exist, it alters not just finances but the confidence and long-term vision that defines stability. Globalization and technological progress amplify insecurity. Entire industries can relocate or automate quickly, leaving once stable positions vulnerable. Workers may retain employment but experience a shrinking sense of permanence as contracts change, roles evolve, or expectations shift rapidly. Even high-skill positions are not immune. The labor market now values adaptability and continuous skill development over static seniority. The loss of job security also changes the cultural contract between employers and employees. Loyalty, long-term tenure, and expectations of career progression have been replaced with flexible engagement, project-based work, and continuous performance evaluation. While this offers certain opportunities for innovation and mobility, it simultaneously erodes the predictability that middle-class families relied upon for planning financial futures. Households respond to this shift through diversification of income, skill development, and flexibility in career planning. Job security as a concept may no longer guarantee lifetime stability, but adaptability, financial prudence, and foresight become essential tools for navigating a world in which employment is increasingly dynamic and uncertain. The rising cost of living. The cost of everyday life has quietly escalated over the past few decades, transforming what it means to maintain a middle-class lifestyle. Groceries, utilities, transportation, healthcare, and education all demand a larger portion of household income than ever before. For many families, the paycheck stretches thinner, forcing difficult trade-offs between essentials and discretionary spending. Even small increases in prices, often invisible in daily life, accumulate over time, making it increasingly challenging to maintain financial stability or plan for the future. The impact of these rising costs is particularly noticeable when combined with stagnant wages. While prices creep upward, incomes often fail to keep pace, creating a scenario where working harder does not translate into increased financial comfort. Families may take on additional hours, side jobs, or second incomes just to cover baseline expenses. Over time, this imbalance can generate a subtle but pervasive sense of financial strain, where effort seems disconnected from reward. Housing, energy, and transportation are often the largest components of the cost of living, and they have risen at rates that far outstrip wage growth in many regions. Families may find that a budget that was adequate 5 or 10 years ago now leaves them short, even when nothing else about their lifestyle changes. These pressures shift priorities, forcing choices between moving to less expensive areas, sacrificing conveniences, or deferring long-term goals such as education, retirement, or investment. The rising cost of living is also reshaping the cultural understanding of middle-class life. Activities and milestones once taken for granted, owning a home, taking vacations, saving for college, are now increasingly seen as aspirational or delayed. What was once considered achievable with steady work now requires careful planning, discipline, and sometimes creative approaches to income and savings. The psychological impact of these pressures should not be underestimated. Families constantly juggling expenses against rising costs often experience stress, fatigue, and a sense of running in place. Financial anxiety can infiltrate daily life, influencing decisions from career choices to family planning. Understanding the structural pressures behind rising living costs is key to addressing them strategically, rather than feeling powerless. Ultimately, the rising cost of living is not just a series of small price increases. It is a systemic shift that redefines financial expectations, reshapes lifestyles, and challenges the traditional markers of middle-class security and prosperity, the psychological pressure of modern work. The modern workplace is no longer just a site of income. It has become a landscape of constant evaluation, performance metrics, and continuous availability. Technology blurs the line between work and personal life, requiring constant responsiveness and eroding boundaries that once defined off hours. Many workers face the implicit expectation of being perpetually connected, which can produce stress, anxiety, and burnout. This psychological pressure is an invisible burden, layered on top of financial concerns and the struggle to achieve traditional markers of stability. The intensity of work is amplified by the perception that productivity and output are directly tied to personal worth. Performance metrics, deadlines, and competitive environments make it easy for workers to internalize responsibility for outcomes they cannot fully control. Even when external factors, market shifts, automation, corporate restructuring, drive changes in employment conditions, the sense of personal accountability persists, creating ongoing mental strain. Work pressure extends into family and personal life as well. Longer hours and the need for constant availability reduce time for relationships, rest, and personal growth. Many middle-class workers report feeling that their lives are dominated by obligations rather than choices, as work schedules dictate routines, activities, and priorities. Even in roles that offer flexibility, the expectation of adaptability and self-management introduces new forms of stress. Remote work, freelancing, and project-based assignments may provide freedom in scheduling, but they also shift responsibility entirely to the worker for maintaining stability, productivity, and career progression. This trade-off illustrates the complex interplay between opportunity and psychological strain in modern employment. The pressure of modern work is not purely negative. It can foster resilience, creativity, and efficiency, but it is reshaping expectations of balance, achievement, and personal fulfillment. Understanding the psychological dimensions of work, in addition to its financial impact, is essential for navigating modern life and sustaining long-term well-being. Rethinking the meaning of success. The definition of success has always been tied to material markers: a home, stable income, career advancement, and visible achievements. Today, the meaning of success is shifting under the weight of economic change, rising costs, and evolving social expectations. While traditional markers remain desirable, they are increasingly complemented, or even replaced, by considerations of flexibility, fulfillment, adaptability, and resilience. Success is no longer a static endpoint. It is often measured by the ability to navigate complexity and maintain stability in uncertain conditions. This shift requires re-examining priorities. Financial milestones may remain important, but psychological well-being, personal growth, and life balance are increasingly central to how individuals define achievement. People may choose smaller, manageable goals rather than pursuing traditional benchmarks that are now increasingly difficult to reach. Economic uncertainty, technological change, and evolving labor markets all contribute to this new understanding of success. The emphasis moves away from ownership and accumulation alone towards skills development, career mobility, and the ability to manage financial, personal, and psychological pressures simultaneously. Success is increasingly seen as the capacity to thrive amid instability rather than simply maintaining predetermined markers. This shift has cultural and generational dimensions as well. Younger adults are observing previous generations' experiences and recalibrating expectations accordingly. While traditional markers are still aspirational, there is a growing acceptance that fulfillment may come through alternative routes: entrepreneurship, creative work, or personal development rather than just property ownership, corporate tenure, or retirement savings. Ultimately, rethinking success does not diminish ambition. It reframes it in a way that is more aligned with contemporary realities. By emphasizing adaptability, resilience, and personal growth alongside financial stability, the modern middle class can pursue meaningful progress in a world where traditional markers of achievement are no longer guaranteed. If this breakdown helped you understand the pressures shaping modern middle-class life, share your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you found it insightful, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with deep dives into economic realities. Share this video with anyone navigating the challenges of rising costs and changing work landscapes. Stay informed, stay adaptable, and keep questioning the systems shaping daily life.